ultimately in October of 2018, I went ahead and left my job as an accountant. So I walked away from corporate America and just pursued full-time entrepreneurship.
You said a mouthful there.
Did. Sorry about that.
No, and it's good. I love it because what we're hearing is you were a person who kind of like took your time and learned the process of a lot of things, and you made a decision. You were able to make a choice to say, okay, I'm doing this. I have my side hustle where I have my clients on the side. What I'm hearing is that even if it's a side hustle, you're learning the behind the scenes behind helping somebody else. What's going on, everybody? This is Abby here with another episode of Modern Day Unicorns, and today I have David with me. So David and I met in a mutual program from Deepening the Brand on learning how to podcast. And one of the things that caught my attention, I'm going to show you all really quick. All right, so I'm gonna switch to the scene right here. Now, if you look, you see that silver play button in the back, and I said, man, this guy's wanting to know more information, but it looks like he is doing something over there. So our conversation started there. So I'm going to be quiet, and we're going to dig into David's life and figure out what's going on, and then more about that silver play button as well. David, welcome to Modern Day Unicorns.
Hey, what's up, baby? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. So I gave a brief introduction as to why you caught my attention in the first place as we were on like a mutual program. But now we're gonna peel this onion and figure out what's going on with you and everything that you have going on. So please tell us about yourself, who you are, like your name, where you're from, and things of that nature.
Okay. Well, I was originally born in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I moved to Indianapolis when I was 14 years old. So I currently reside in Indianapolis, and I've been here, over 20 years now. I'm an accountant, a trucking entrepreneur, as well as most recently a YouTuber.
And see, those are all wonderful things. I'm super excited for our conversation today. So let's start with, you gave me like 3 different careers, if you will. And I'm going to start with the first one. You said that you are an accountant. And I want to know what kind of sparked your interest in accounting in general, like when you first began or whatever you went to school for. Actually, I'll ask you, did you go to school for accounting? And then how did you end up in accounting if that is not the answer?
Yes, good question. So basically, when I moved to Indianapolis, I had a few friends who we all played basketball together. And one of my friends had an older sister who was a couple grades older than me. And she came in one day and she was holding this book that was green with a gold dollar sign, and it just caught my attention. So I asked her about, what that class was, what it was about, and she explained to me it was accounting, and they pretty much, did a lot of reporting and counted money and stuff like that. And so naturally it just caught my attention. So in high school, I went ahead and took some of those accounting classes, and I enjoyed it. So then when it was time to decide on a major in college, I went ahead and chose accounting as my major. I attended Indiana University, and I graduated in 2007 with my bachelor's degree in accounting. And right after that, I went into working in corporate America as a corporate accountant.
Well, it sounds like you are a person that pretty much can make a decision and go full force with it, because I know my college career was like, what's going on? Well, that's what's up. Okay, so that's for accounting. And I think you still do accounting to this day in some shape, form, or fashion. So now let's get into trucking entrepreneur. So tell us more about that, how it began, and yeah, so like that seems like 2 totally different things, accounting and trucking entrepreneur. Tell us more.
Yeah, so it's not that obvious then how I ended up here. Okay, well, I guess I'll explain it. So pretty much I always wanted to have my own business. And so as I was studying accounting, we learned that accounting is pretty much the language of business. So in my mind, I knew I was going to start a business at some point, but I didn't know what type of business I would start. And I always said, well, I'll just become an accountant, because whenever I start my own business, I won't need to hire an accountant. And also, until I decide what type of business I want to start, I can still work a job as an accountant in the meantime to provide for myself. So I actually ended up meeting somebody who, outside of work, who they had just started a contracting business, and he was looking for somebody to help with his books. So outside of my regular job, I was helping with his accounting. And one point, he has a huge network, and at one point somebody approached him who they had just started a trucking business back in 2016, and they were looking for an accountant. So he recommended me. So outside of my regular 9 to 5 job, I had two accounting clients. One was the contractor, and one was the trucking business guys. Because they had limited experience in trucking and running businesses, I was charged with doing a lot of the research and making sure a lot of the compliance things and operations things were intact. And I was able to use like the experience that I had from working behind the scenes in corporate America to apply that to their trucking business. And toward the end of 2017, we had a conversation, and one of the guys had just mentioned, he was like, man, you helped us grow our business from 3 trucks to 12 trucks. You pretty much know all the behind the scenes stuff. He said, he's like, you should start your own trucking business. And at first I thought about it, and I was like, man, it just made all the sense in the world, because I didn't know a whole lot about the industry since I had been working behind the scenes at this point for a few months. So I've seen like the ups and downs with it. So at that point, I went ahead and I purchased my own truck and started my company. So if you're keeping track, I'm working a job in corporate America. I have 2 accounting clients who I'm doing work for outside of work, and now I'm starting a trucking business. So I ended up growing that trucking business from 1 to 5 trucks in about 13 months. And ultimately in October of 2018, I went ahead and left my job as an accountant. So I walked away from corporate America and just pursued full-time entrepreneurship.
You said a mouthful there.
Did. Sorry about that.
No, and it's good. I love it because what we're hearing is you were a person who kind of like took your time and learned the process of a lot of things, and you made a decision. You were able to make a choice to say, okay, I'm doing this. I have my side hustle where I have my clients on the side, and you're learning. Like, what I'm hearing is that even if it's a side hustle, you're learning the behind the scenes behind helping somebody else who encouraged you to start your own trucking business. So I'm intrigued to know that what that process was for you to start your own trucking business, because in the short time that we've known each other, I haven't heard about you driving a truck or anything like that. But like, what is that like to actually start and own your own trucking business? What are some of the things that maybe you've had to put in place, and how have you got it to a place now to where it pretty much runs without you having to be behind the wheel?
Good question. So the biggest thing when it comes to, at least at that time, the biggest thing with running out your own trucking business was getting through a lot of the government regulation and a lot of the behind the scenes administrative processes that needed to happen. But because I'm an accountant and I'm used to dealing with regulations and processes and things like that and paperwork, it was really nothing for me to do. Like, it was just, it was a walk in the park pretty much. So in the beginning, it was difficult once I got the business up and going, because I was running a trucking company from my job. So there was times where I would spend some work hours on the clock doing my my own business. But I had enough people, because I ended up growing the business with the job to 3 trucks. And the type of work that we were doing, it was pretty consistent and regular, so there wasn't a whole lot of instruction that needed to be given out every day, because we were pretty much doing the same thing every day. So the communication with my drivers, it was very minimal, because they already knew what the assignment was. The only time I really had to get involved was if there was some type of issue with the truck or with the pickup or the delivery, but that wasn't like an everyday thing. I just pretty much had to be available just in the event that something did happen. By the time I quit my job, I was at 3 trucks, picked up the 4th truck, and I believe a month or so after that is when I picked up the 5th truck. Now at this time, my schedule had opened up, so it was a little easier running the trucking business, because I no longer had my 9 to 5 job. So at that time, um, word kind of traveled in our local area that I had a trucking business because it's actually funny that the trucking community isn't very big. Like it seems like everybody knows everybody. So um, once I grew my trucking business, people started approaching me here locally to help them set up their business and help them get things going and getting processes and things like that put in place. And since these were the same processes that I had followed for myself and I did a pretty good job of documenting them, it was nothing for me to help more people. And that ended up being a service that I was offering to the public, where I was helping people set up their businesses and doing some just some consulting and accounting work along the way. Now at this point, with 5 trucks in this now client service industry business, I ended up hiring a dispatcher to find the work for the drivers and coordinate any of the unexpected things that needed to happen. Where before I would have to take a lot of those phone calls and figure out the answers to the different problems. I now had a dispatcher in place to where he was able to field a lot of those phone calls. So it was a little bit more hands off for me as I focused on my client service business.
Listen, this whole conversation has me excited because we can just see the progress of how you can get things done. And even I'm working on a project with another individual, and she is expressing and teaching how you can run your business even with a 9 to 5. And so it's inspiring to see firsthand again how you were able to do that and over time continue to add more elements to contribute to your success. So now, I believe you said it was 2018 or 2019, you had about 5 different trucks. Now it's
Yeah.
2022, right? We've been
Right.
through or going through a whole pandemic. What is business looking like for you today?
Okay, so if we back up a little bit, so toward the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, I actually have I'm gonna say a family member. We're not blood related, but we pretty much, for all intents and purposes, we're family. He actually started his own trucking business as well. I was able to like guide him through that process, and he quit his 9 to 5 as well. So because he has a lot more time available, I pretty much play a behind the scenes role with his business now. So we've pretty much come together on the trucking business side, and I can play a behind the scenes role there so that I can still focus on serving clients and now creating content around the trucking industry.
Now you said a key thing here, right? So you said you had a 9 to 5 corporate job. You ran your own trucking business. You were able to get a dispatcher, and then your family member started. So you were able to allocate and or just give some more responsibilities over to him while you were also serving clients. And so when it comes to creating content, how did you go from serving clients probably person to person or over the phone to saying, all right, I'm tired of repeating myself. Let me start, putting this on video format. Like what sparked to say, let me create content and put it on YouTube? How did that start?
Okay, so good. That's a great question. So what happened was because I was working exclusively with trucking business owners here in the Indianapolis area, it became a niche that I was very familiar with. Since I had the trucking business and I had trucking business clients, I started to focus exclusively on trucking businesses. So if you weren't a trucking business, you weren't a client of mine at this time. And I was looking, so at this point, now I'm kind of looking to grow that client base. So what I did was I went on YouTube because my plan was to go on YouTube and go on it with the approach of saying, hey, I'm an accountant and I actually have a trucking business. So if you're a trucking business owner and you need an accountant, you should, reach out to me because I understand the business, so I can help you out from an accounting standpoint, but I also have an in-depth knowledge of the actual trucking industry itself. Well, I got a lot of responses from people who were looking for an accountant in the trucking industry, but I got an overwhelming response from people who were looking to get started in the trucking industry, and they needed to learn a lot of the processes and the regulations and things like that. So my content initially started out as marketing my services, but based on the response of the audience, it shifted to here's how you start a trucking business.
And so that is so key, being able to listen to your audience. So you went in there with your own ideas on what people should need and how you should serve one another, and came out with another one to where you pivoted to say, oh, okay. So tell me how that's played out for you, being able to not necessarily seek and fish for services rather than educating people. How has that dynamic changed your mindset on the content that you create now and moving forward?
So basically, before I was making content, my time was being exclusively serving clients where it was only things I can do on a one-on-one basis. So I was I was able to impact people, but it wasn't at scale. So once I started to create content and I saw the growth of the channel, and I was, reading a lot of the positive feedback I was getting from the audience, I realized that I can have a much bigger impact and get my message across more people by creating content that serves the masses as opposed to working one-on-one with clients. So I still work one-on-one with clients till this day, but the fact that I can have a far bigger reach, impact, and I can scale a lot more by creating content that's helpful and useful, that's the angle that I enjoy a lot more nowadays. So in case by case situations, I'll still work with new clients one-on-one, but what I found is most of the information that people are looking for, it's all the same. So there's not a whole lot of situations that I've come across where people need like customized, individualized help. For the most part, a lot of the general information that I share, it's applicable for 80% of the people out there who are looking for it.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about the revenue streams that you've been able to create from content alone? So we have your service-based business, which, sometimes is one-on-one and you can't necessarily, multiply yourself. But what type of revenue streams have you been able to, manipulate from just creating content alone?
Okay, so initially when I started creating content, I would get a lot of emails from people who they would ask a lot of questions via email. And I would spend so much time during the day just responding to these questions for free that at one point a friend of mine, he said, "Hey man, you spend a lot of time during the day, doing all of this stuff for free when you could be making money. He's like, you should probably start charging for like consultation services." So that was the first income stream I built from the YouTube channel, was offering consultation calls to the audience. At some point, the channel it was eligible for monetization, so YouTube or Google AdSense was the second way that the channel was monetized. Now, in trucking, there are a lot of services that you have to have to remain in compliance with the federal government. And so a lot of these services, I noticed the ones that I had used, they all had affiliate or referral programs, partner programs. So anytime people would ask, "Hey, what ELD company do you use, or what load board do you use?" I would just tell them that, "Hey, here's the companies that I use, and if you use this link of mine, then I'll get a kickback from it, and then you may even receive some type of additional benefits as well, like free trials, or small like gift cards and things like that." So I then began to monetize the channel through affiliate partners that I was currently using. Most recently, I did a virtual workshop where um, it was a finance workshop for trucking business owners, and I was able to sell seats or sell tickets or whatever, sell access to the live workshop. So those have been pretty much my revenue sources I've been able to generate from creating content.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that's many different ways that, you know, you've been able to monetize your time and also, just double your efforts. So that's amazing. So I want to thank you for the time that you spent with me thus far. And then before we go, I want to make sure that I get some more information from you, like the 3 tips that you would have for people who are looking to, like I said, you can take it however you want it. So what type of information would you give to somebody who's looking to be maybe in a similar position as you, or is maybe at a crossroad, or maybe they're even having their own business and they're wondering how they can kind of exit out of their particular situation? What's something that you would share with them?
I would say the first thing is really sit down with yourself and figuring out what your goals are. Like, what is it that you're actually trying to achieve? Because if you're spending a lot of time consuming content, you'll hear about a lot of other people's goals. And so if you're following their blueprint, then it may be leading you in on a path that doesn't quite align with your goals. So really figuring out what it is that you want to do, that's step one. That's probably the most important tip I can give anybody. I would say number 2 is creating a plan to achieve that goal. So if you know that you want to be doing a certain thing, in the next 5 years, reverse engineer and figure out what is it that you need to be doing today in order to achieve that goal within 5 years. And I would say the third, and I'm not going to say the most important, but I just say the third tip I would give is just getting started. So often we spend so much time making sure everything's perfect, making sure all the stars are aligned, but what you'll find out is like none of that stuff's ever going to be the case. If I heard a saying a long time ago, it was like, if you wait till all the lights are green before you leave your house to get to the destination, then you'll never get there. You'll never leave your house. So if you just take the first step, and once you take that step, the next step will reveal themselves. So don't sit on ideas too long. Just take action and be consistent.
David, I want to thank you for those tips. Those are amazing. So before we go, I want to make sure that everybody knows where they can find you, follow you, get, information from you, and also what type of services and things that you have available for people who may be interested in the trucking business. Could you please share that with us?
Yeah, I'm on all social media platforms as Trucking from Scratch. You can find me on YouTube. Is my platform of choice. I'm now working with a pretty cool unicorn by the name of Abby to help me grow my Instagram presence through Trucking from Scratch as well. And yeah, that's pretty much the main places you can find me, on YouTube and Instagram at Trucking from Scratch.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, you all have heard it here. Dave has an amazing story and a journey. You know what? Before we do go officially, I am going to ask, because you mentioned something about a 5-year plan. What is next, or what kind of goals do you have now, since you are a full-time entrepreneur? You have a very successful YouTube channel. What else would you like to accomplish, or what direction are you moving into next?
So one thing that creating content has shown me is people are actually interested in my teaching style. And even though right now on my YouTube channel I talk primarily about trucking, I think there's a lot more information that I think an audience will find beneficial. That's business, entrepreneurship, investing, personal finance, all that stuff related, but just outside of trucking. So my current goals right now are to start a second YouTube channel and a podcast that's focused on, like I said, entrepreneurship, personal finance, and business in general. I would pretty much like to see this new platform launched here in the next few weeks.
I look forward to seeing it, and I definitely will, put all the information in the show notes for when that second channel is birthed and put out into the world for us to share. So for those of you who have been holding on throughout this interview, I want to thank you for, making sure that you're paying attention. If you're interested in anything, definitely put it into practice. There's limitless opportunities that we have, especially when it comes to YouTube and social media. You can share almost anything with the world and find your niche audience. So if you are a unicorn, you know somebody that is, I love to continue to have these conversations with interesting unicorn individuals to help inspire and encourage you to keep moving forward. Follow us on all social media platforms at Modern Day Unicorns. And until next time, we will see you.